What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 713 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week. We're going to break down everything that we feel like talking about that happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days, as per usual. And as per usual, we are the same people as we always are. I am Tony Mango, joined as always by Robbie Felice.
I am the same person I always am.
I'm the same person I've been since a child, clearly, by all the things that I still like. And Gala Wiggins.
I thought it'd be someone different today.
Are you going to be a cowboy this time?
No, I'm always that. This version of me is left-handed. This version of me is left-handed.
Ah, nice. Well, that means all your opinions aren't right on this episode.
I diddly ho.
No, he's still right brand if he's left-handed.
Alrighty. Well, as we always say, too, we always want to know what you have to say as well as what our opinions are and stuff. So whether you echo the same thoughts or you disagree, leave a comment below on YouTube or wherever else it is that you are listening to us. And there are a couple of different ways for you to do that, of course. So if you are on Amazon Music or you're on Spotify or whatever like that, thank you for joining us in whatever fashion it is. Make sure that you hit up the Discord channels for the option to just live chat at any moment, whatever you want to with anybody. You can share some memes and post some different news things and just, kind of have some fun over there. If you are on YouTube, though, make sure that you also hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, get your email alerts set up for the post shows that are going to be happening tomorrow and the next day for SummerSlam. Both nights are going to have a post-show podcast in some fashion, whether it's me on camera or me deciding that I don't feel like being on camera or be joined by any of these guys or whatever it might be. I don't know. Hopefully I'll be joined by all of you in the live chat. Keep in mind, too, if you have the means to help support us and keep us going with a little monetary donation, there are a couple ways for you to do that. The thanks button is one of them. The Redbubble and TeePublic shops are another one to pick up merchandise. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment is another one. And the YouTube channel membership is basically the exact same thing as the Patreon. So if you want to toss $1 a month, that's awesome. $5 a month, even better. Gives you ad block forgiveness and also early access for certain things. The Darkcast tier is only available on the Darkcast tier or higher. And then the Pick Your Poison tier, of course, is where you can directly sponsor something to happen if you are itching for another episode of Finisher versus Finisher or something along those lines we haven't done in a long time. That's how you can make sure that we do it. So we will get into Rob's SummerSlam predictions since he wasn't able to join us on the last one. And we're going to get into TV recap and different things like that. I want to very quickly toss out a thing that would be a normal hot tag, but I'm exhausted talking about this type of topic. And I don't want to be going into 20 minutes worth of the same discussion because we all have the same opinions. And it's just a thing to put out there as just a denouncement of that. Keep in mind, just because we watch WWE, or at least two of us do, Callum hasn't in a while, and I don't envy him. I envy him for that. It does not mean we support the same things that they support. So I just want to give a giant middle finger to Triple H for being involved in this whole awful, terrible regime. And just because your flavor of evil is not the same as some other people, if you support those people, then you are just as bad in a lot of those same ways. So if you are, standing next to Lawrence Taylor and Donald Trump, and you think that that's a good thing, and you think that that's something to be proud of, and you are not denouncing that or whatever, then you are complacent, if not directly guilty of doing the same things, or at least making things worse for everybody else. So that's terrible. That's an evil thing. You should not support pedophiles and disgusting racist bigots and tyrants. And history will, of course, put everybody in the light that they need to be, and karma's a bitch. So massive middle finger to you for that. Fuck you for being terrible people. Anyway, WWE Unreal.
Also, just to put a bow on the racists and MAGAs, Hulk Hogan died of a heart attack brought on by undisclosed leukemia.
Yep. There you go. I should have done the thing. I watched the movie Taps somewhat recently. I went on a little bit of my my weekend watch a bad movie fit was a little bit of like a marathon of Tom Cruise movies somewhat recently this year, and Taps was one of them. And I spent the entire movie every time somebody would do something stupid just going just singing that song. Weird fucking movie. I'm on a little bit of a Travolta kick now. I watched Broken Arrow last week. I might watch Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 tonight. I don't know. We'll see. That looks like it's equally as stupid. So yeah, WWE Unreal is a documentary that came out this past week, and it's quote unquote a look into the behind the scenes side of things. It does do that, whether or not it's manufactured or some of it's real and some of it is unreal, as it is, titled. But I watched all 5 episodes. I'm assuming that you guys both didn't watch all 5 of them. At the very least, I know that Callum wouldn't have watched all 5.
I got through 2 of them, but Fightful has like 55 articles, so I know I caught up on Unreal.
Yeah, if you read those articles, then you know what's on there. I'll give my opinions after you guys toss out some of the stuff or whatever. Like, Callum, you have been exposed to some of the things. What are your thoughts on what you've seen?
Nothing like much really. I think when you guys go into a bit more depth, I might be able to comment on certain bits pieces. But I probably watched like the equivalent of 5 minutes worth of stuff through clips online. Maybe the most like I guess watched and most like referenced parts of the entire series. I kind of don't want to go into the dangerous territory that I can sometimes find myself falling into, but just like saying the stuff that I looked a bit like either bad or paints things in a certain light, having not watched the series, because it feels like, who am I to comment on it if I'm not going to watch it, and I'm never going to end up watching it. So I'll probably just like leave it there and then just wait to see what you guys bring up as in people that have actually watched or watched close attention to it, and just leave it there from my perspective.
So I'll start here because I know when it happened, this was big news. But after watching the show, and this might be me being worked, but I now believe that the Charlotte and Tiffany stuff might have just been for this show. And that it was not as stinging and real as we thought it was. That might just be me feeling that way because I watched wrestling for 30 years, but you know what I mean.
It's hard not to have your guard up on things. After a certain amount of time, you're just like, I don't want to be worked in that way. Like, I want to be worked in the fun aspect, and I want to like to do with something when it comes to SummerSlam, for instance. We already talked about it, but like, I want to be fooled that Seth Rollins is injured, so that way he comes and cashes in and I go, oh shit, okay, yeah, they got me, or something, even though I think that that's going to happen, so it's technically not quite the same, but you know what I mean. But I don't want to be worked in the sense of thinking that real stuff is real and fake stuff is real and real stuff is fake. And like, the business changed decades ago. You start to do that stuff, and then you go down a rabbit hole where you can't avoid that anyway. And I like it when it's, something that can factor into the storylines and all, but when it's something that's just blurring the line between reality and, somebody tweeting out something and I'm supposed to believe that this is the real person, whatever, I don't really love that all that much. So I do look at this show, and after the 5 episodes that I had seen, I go, all right, I'm suspicious that some of this stuff isn't just completely manufactured. And that's not just a WWE thing too. Like, that's reality shows, quote unquote. They're not reality. And a couple decades ago, everybody thought that everything was real because it was just like, well, it's on camera and, it's quote unquote a reality show. So everything that happens there. And of course, it comes out that things are staged and things are complete bullshit in some ways. And, you can see even on something as simple as like The Amazing Race that they can be like, let's film you saying you got a clue to the next place to go. I don't know how the show works. I've never seen it, but it's like a clue to go to the next place. And, well, you know what? Actually, can we have you do that again, but facing the opposite direction? Because that might be a better angle with the background. And then they pretend like they're reading it for the first time or whatever. Like, that stuff is manufactured. And I am 100% positive that there are things on this documentary that are just purely manufactured in that way. But I also feel like some of the stuff you just can't do because it's like you can't sit there and write the whole thing. And the interactions between certain people and all, that's the only thing that I really took away from this that I enjoyed. And I skipped through a lot of stuff when I started to see the pattern of how they were editing the show, where it's not for me, it's for a different audience. So I don't need to watch it the same way. Like, I've seen The Rock cut his promo and Cody cut his go fuck yourself promo and John Cena turn heel. I've seen it. I don't need to watch the 5-minute recap of what happened with the footage involved in there and people just going, and then we thought that it would be a great moment if, and then it shows the thing again. So like I skipped, 30 seconds here and there, 20 seconds there, a minute and a half with that stuff. That's because we're the different type of audience. It doesn't appeal to us. But I really liked seeing things like the conference room and just even like looking at the background and being able to be like, so they have this type of a whiteboard set up. And that's not going to be something that they just create specifically for the show and they go, let's buy a whiteboard and pretend like that's what we do, but we actually use this other thing. They use the whiteboard. Okay, clearly that's what they do. And it's a little interesting for me as just a fucking dork and somebody who has spreadsheets and, that tickles my little, weird OCDs and stuff that it's interesting when they're plotting out the WrestleMania card that it's like, let's make sure that we color code people for their roster. So that way we don't lose track that LA Knight is on SmackDown and Jey Uso is on Raw and we're going to make Jey Uso a red thing and, like that kind of thing. And wow, they sure have a lot of snacks on the background just in case people midway through, if Michael Hayes wants to just go grab a thing of pretzels or something. Like, that's what I find fun more so than the Charlotte stuff and all. And when you start getting deeper into like, these could be stories for this show, I do start to go like, all right, maybe that was just manufactured. And maybe there isn't really any animosity between Tiffany and Charlotte. Maybe they just thought that would be an interesting angle for an episode.
Because now, like, because the idea of, and maybe this is just me being a fucking dork for wrestling, the idea of Triple H, the DX guy, the guy who has proudly, for at least the last 20 years, taken credit for saying, screw Brett, if he's not going to do business, we'll do business for him. Saying the idea of, well, Tiffany needs to know that that's not how we do this. Really? You, the guy who, like, it's on record that you upset The Rock because you would constantly go off script. I don't know. But then later we see later in the show that him and CM Punk are hugging it out and calling. It's so gratifying that Hunter knows he's a main eventer. So maybe people change, but whatever. Like it felt weird to me, that specific incident.
Yeah, like that was one of the few things in the show that stood out to me as a very particular, like, I don't know about that. But I did like moments like just seeing Becky's genuine fun reaction to Seth's match at WrestleMania and just seeing like, she's clearly like, yo, this flamethrower is pretty cool and like that kind of thing. And seeing like it on a negative side of things, I don't think that this was necessarily manufactured. It might have been, but like, it's weird seeing Abyss cower so much to Bruce Pritchard.
That was bizarre to me. I didn't like that.
Did you see that clip, Callum?
No.
So essentially what it is they're going over the time limit on a match. I forget which match it was.
It was the CM Punk, Seth Rollins steel cage match.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah. And he's like, he's producing the match and stuff, and he's going like, we're like a minute and 30 over. I'm sorry, Bruce. I'm sorry. I'm doing what I can. They're going over. I'm trying to reel him in, Bruce, and all this. And then like after the match is over, he goes up to Bruce Pritchard and he's like, I tried, whatever. I'm so sorry, sir, and whatever. And Bruce is like, it was overproduced, it was overwritten, it was over a lot of things or whatever, but it was a good match. It's fine, whatever. But it just comes with a little bit of a tone of like, you fucked up, but it's not the end of the world. And then immediately afterward, Park is like still standing next to Pritchard, but he's talking to Regal and he's like, is he mad at me? And then like Regal's like, fuck him. Like he's kind of, he's like, yeah, it's fine, fuck him. And like that to me strikes me as like, yeah, it's probably a real moment. He probably is just like, I know that Bruce Pritchard is my boss. I know that this could be any moment. He's part of the Vince regime, and you can get fired and all that stuff. And then Mr. Regal, can you please tell me that it's okay? And then he's just kind of like, yeah, Bruce ain't gonna fire me. Fuck that guy. It's like, I liked and disliked that. I liked it for like how real it felt, at least, and I disliked it for like, I feel bad for Park, and I'm like, oh man, like I kind of want to give him a hug,
See, the way that you're kind of describing it, like, and that sort of terminology makes me feel like it's fake. And then just looking as well, because if it's based around, they're going way over time, and looking, that was the main event of that episode of Raw.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how were they going over? There's nothing else left to do.
On Netflix, by the way.
Oh, okay. Is that what it kind of means?
Well, like, I think
but they're on Netflix. Like,
that's
surely
my
it
point.
doesn't matter how long these things go.
It should be fine. I think the idea was that Bruce was just kind of like, fuck the match. It was over. It was less about the time and more about like, I don't like it. It's overdone. It's overproduced. And he's like, oh, that's my job. Well, like that's the vibe I took it, rather than it being just about like going over time.
Like you should have done a better job setting it up, or like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think he just didn't like how it was set up, because it's Punk and Rollins and Roman. Like they don't give it. They're not going over time. They can have the whole show if they want it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there are moments here and there, good and bad, on the show, and little stupid non sequitur type things that I got a little bit of a kick out of. Just like, yeah, of course CM Punk would grab a handful of Sour Patch Kids on his way to the ring, like at Gorilla. Like, okay, yeah, he probably does. The guy clearly likes having donuts on his press conferences and stuff. Like that's a genuine moment where like seeing Damian Priest talking to Rhea Ripley and being like, wow, they really do, like, just across the board, they have a good relationship with each other. And like,
yeah,
I'm not at all surprised that certain people go to certain people and gravitate towards them and are friendly with them, or like that this person seems fun backstage, or like Chelsea Green, like whether it's set up to have this kind of effect or not. Like the more that I see Chelsea outside of pro wrestling, the more that I'm like, she's a cool cat. And cool cat, who the fuck am I? The fuck phrase was that? I don't talk like that.
I was so glad you said that, because I was like, oh, that was weird.
If this was a video podcast right now, you would have just seen immediately my reaction was just like a stunned, like, where the fuck did that come from? There you go. That's Unreal. That's scripted. My script right now says thoughts on WWE Unreal. That's what I'm reading. I didn't even write any notes down. It's just like, okay, yeah, I want to see her succeed more. She seems like she is quote unquote a cool cat, according to some fucking people. I don't know. And like
that was one of the things I saw going around, was like one of the clips was the stuff about Chelsea Green, and then her kind of the thing on that episode where she talks about missing out on Elimination Chamber in Toronto.
Yeah.
And how like she's desperate to like work harder, despite the fact that like it's probably due to the fact that they only put a handful of matches on PLEs these days. And it's not like it's not like she wasn't a champion. Well, she wasn't. She wasn't. She wasn't the United States champion at that point. So it's like, but yeah, I think there's that, and the stuff that she was saying about how she's willing to be the butt of the joke, which is fine. Like, as I say, that there should be, while it's good for people to shoot for the top, there is a need for people to fill in certain roles that aren't aren't main event world champion level. And if Chelsea's willing to fit into that role, and she compared herself to the Miz in that regard, like I say, I would never be as harsh as I am on the Miz if he wasn't a 2-time WWE champion. It's like, that's the reason, because the Miz isn't at that level. He's at the level that Chelsea Green's at. And Chelsea Green, if she ever won the world title, I'd say, yeah, this is dumb. She's a comedy wrestler. Like, that's her position. So it's good that she kind of accepts that and realizes, I just want to be on TV and entertain people and, be available for whatever they need me to do. And that's kind of a commendable trait for people to have.
Yeah, like, she came across really well, I thought, in there. And for the most part, Punk, I thought, came across pretty well. You get to see different moments of him clearly just being in tears and trying not to cry. And then, there are real, genuine human moments, even if some of it is reality show manufactured in one way or another. And I don't know if I would fully recommend it for people that haven't seen the show to check out all 5 episodes. I breezed through them pretty quickly, and I like, if they do another season of it, I'll watch it. But I also sort of feel like once if you can get clips of the show, you get a better, quicker kind of dissolved, put it through a sieve, and then it would be even easier. And you don't need to watch 5 episodes of 40 something minutes worth of it. You can basically watch the good parts of it in an hour or so.
Here's a personalized counterpoint. Watch the whole show, just because I think we should discourage this idea of these clip accounts and just chopping up every second of these 45-minute episodes, getting chopped up into 25 clips for Twitter. Watch the whole episode. You get a broader perspective that way. That's my take.
So anyway, leave your comments below. Tell us what you thought about Unreal. And
could I bring up my favorite clip that I saw?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If either of you have more specifics to talk about, sure.
Yeah. The one clip I saw that I got most entertained by was I don't know the context of it, but it was in gorilla position, and I think it's Triple H talking to Shane Helms.
And the women thing.
Yeah, and so he's basically talking about the women's. Yeah, he's talking about the NXT women's division, talking about how great they are, and then basically saying, yeah, the men just don't do anything, or there's just real problems with the men's division there, and it's like, okay, this is. He's not wrong, but it's kind of funny that they let that go. It's like, oh yeah, like our women in NXT are just kicking ass and they're just learning and they're great and everything. Men fucking suck. They're awful. Like, we need to do something about that. Like, well, that is
not wrong.
Yeah. So
that's a very truthful remark.
Yeah,
what do you say? For every 5 of them,
for every
5 women, there's maybe one guy.
There's maybe one guy that's still because they're all still just trying to figure it out, and the women get it so much quicker. And they're just smarter than us. That's it being women in general kind of a thing.
And again, that just correlates to what you see on TV, because the women do absolutely carry NXT. There's no question about it. It's it's all the women's division, and then Obafemi and Trick Williams, and that's basically it. So other than that, I saw the reports come out afterwards from the Observers, basically saying that the concept behind Unreal is to make Triple H the equivalent to Dana White in the UFC.
Oh, I think that's been their whole rollout plan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's a case of you see it as the MO, because in the UFC, Dana White is the UFC, and it's the idea that he's the main character, and all of the fighters can come and go, but you've got him as the centerpiece, and he's going to be the kind of, let's say, the focal point, the entertainer, the one constant that you can go to. And they're seemingly making Triple H that for WWE, which means that, not necessarily in the same way, but it does make the personalities a bit more interchangeable, in the sense that, okay, you could, like, this wrestler can come, this wrestler can go, all this other stuff, but like Triple H is here and he's the guy. So the more they can make that possible, let's say if it works for the UFC, there's no reason why they wouldn't do it for WWE, especially if they're all run by the same organization now. So yeah, I think it clearly is an indication that Triple H is seen as the centerpiece of this company, and even though he's like his father-in-law no longer runs the business, and so it's not just a nepotism thing now. It seems pretty obvious that Endeavour see him as he's our guy, he's the linchpin of this whole thing.
It's not to get back into the politics side of thing, but it's exactly the way that everybody does that kind of stuff, because it's like, who's the figurehead we can have that can be a good public speaker and connect to an audience that will be able to manipulate their thoughts and, you know, reception and all that, while we have people that are the bankrollers behind the scenes, that are the ones that are ultimately in charge, that you don't really hear too much about, but they are the ones that, you know what I mean? Like, it's exactly the same. You know, do you really think that a certain someone is supposedly the you know, leader of this country, even ignoring the whole idea of not being elected and everything like that? But when you get a, you know, trillionaire that has the technology to, all right, I don't want to go down that. We already know how it is. Fuck them. But I'm looking right now at just moments that, like little clips and stuff, just to decide to see if there was anything that jogged my memory. One moment that I thought was kind of funny was a thing when they were getting ready to just like practice stuff in the ring, and Punk out of nowhere is like having a discussion with Adam Pearce and Ivar, and I forget who else was in there. I know Charlotte gets brought into the conversation, but there's like one or two other people. And they're just talking about, have you ever shit yourself in the ring? And Ivar is talking about how one time he shit himself, but he managed to keep it between the cheeks. And that way it was like, you know, safer for his opponent and whatever. And then like, I'm like, all right, maybe that might be just bullshit, that they were like, hey, do a funny story here and, you know, we can whatever. But like,
no, I believe genuinely that that's just, okay, this is, people are just talking.
Yeah, we're just riffing. And
the funny thing to me is that it's WrestleMania. It's like WrestleMania Saturday or whatever, and Punk's going, "Hey, Charlotte."
I know that you're working right now with TJ and you're trying to figure out something for your match, but do you ever shit yourself?
And then she's like, "What?" And he repeats it like 3 times. And, no, just a little pee. It's just very funny moment. More of that.
I think also, like, one of the things in the clips and the bits and pieces that I have seen, it does, and I say I'm going to view this as a negative, but like, it is interesting to see how micromanaged everything is, and how, in terms of like the match layout in particular, like how produced and how many agents and all this other stuff's involved, to the point where people that go through, because presumably that's how they're brought up through the Performance Center into NXT, into Evolve, or wherever onto the main roster, they have to come to expect this process. It just makes me a bit worried for certain people that do go through, like, they go through the WWE system from the get-go, and then if they're released at any point and they have to go on to the indies or another promotion that doesn't work in the same way, like, how prepared are they going to be to, you know, do matches themselves? Or just because like, they go into a system where they're basically told everything to do, obviously with any promotion system you get in a traditional sense, like back in the day, it'd be a case of, you got, I don't know, 8 minutes and this is the finish, then you guys do whatever you want to do in the meantime. But it's more of a case of, in nowadays, when every single detail is like, okay, you're going to hit this spot over here, and then thought about this idea to do this sort of thing. How heavily produced? How are they going to be able to transition to doing matches in a more, I guess, basic style, more basic preparation, let's say, for matches in the future? It just feels like this is a system that only works if you're in WWE or you're in NXT or you're in that bubble. And then once you're cast out of it, it's almost like you have to start from square one again.
Yeah, I mean, when they're going through, and if you're supposed to believe that it's true and everything, obviously, it's like, okay, now they go into this drop kick, and then now they do that, and now that. How much of that is just pure memorization? Like, that's got to be difficult. And it's got to be weird to go from, we booked every single, beat of this match to, you just got to figure it out on your own and on the spot. And then you see when certain people that are in the performance center, they grow into that kind of comfort. And then when something goes crazy, that's when we get the, oh shit, they're just panicking in the ring right now because they know that they need to do a Hurricane Rana and they didn't do it. So now they're like, moving awkwardly to try to reset up the Hurricane Rana spot so that they just can we rewind and have another take. And it'd be good for them to have to not do that and just go back more to like
improvise
stuff and get an outline of things.
Yeah, respond to what the crowd's doing, respond to how the match is going and feeling, just, gets more used to that. I'm sure that still happens, especially with the older wrestlers, like, who have been used to both systems. Like, I'm sure Punk doesn't need to get every single part of his match, like, agented to him, and if he does, it probably would piss him off, because, if he's been doing it for many years, he knows what he's doing, so just let us go out and do it. But for me, it's more for the younger wrestlers that may be in a good position now, but may not make it in WWE long term, just how difficult it might be to do that transition back to a more conventional style of match prep.
Right. And there was another thing that I was just like, the Jey Uso stuff. If we're meant to believe that this is true, of course, take it with a grain of salt, that they had different plans for WrestleMania, would have been Punk and Gunther, I was going to say, Punk and Gunther, and Jay would have been in an Intercontinental title ladder match instead, and they essentially just went like, I don't know, what about Jay? What about whatever? And there was a pitch from one guy, I think it was Ed Koskey, I don't remember for sure, of like, why don't we have the Women's Royal Rumble end with 29 people being eliminated, and the 30th person comes out and wins by default, and it's Chelsea Green.
I have wanted to see that for my entire life. I've always wanted to see the spot where all 29 are out and it's just whoever comes out is the winner. I hope that gets done one day.
I'm worried that it will, and at the same time I'm interested to see it. So it's a double-edged sword. But if we believe that the Jey Uso stuff is true, then that is them being like, we need proof that you can not get blown up during a match, and then eventually kind of just being like, all right, well, it looks like he's getting blown up, and we don't know if he's really the guy and whatever. And I don't know how much of that is true and how much of it isn't. I don't know how much of that is manufactured for that versus just the way that things play out. And I don't know about the whole Gunther and Goldberg thing, but there's a chance that could have played into how they did those things, and it could have been like, maybe they just kind of on a whim went, he's popular right now, let's just give him the title and see what happens. And then after a few weeks or so, it's really not working out all that much, maybe we just pivot back to Gunther. It happens. So I'm curious.
Sure, but also he is super popular. The dude's he's essentially the Randy Savage half of the Mega Powers going into SummerSlam this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked himself up into a certain level. It's just for this particular Mania, because it was seen as last, oh buddy, we needed those world championships wide open. And I think a lot of things could have been moved around.
Yeah.
To have a better card.
So I recommend it in some ways. In other ways, I think if you skip it, you're not missing anything. And you'll find some clips here and there, or you'll hear the story from somebody else, or, whatever it might be. But, if you're interested, go ahead and do it. It's not up to us to tell you if you like it or not. So let's move on to another topic here then. Let's talk about WWE Speed, or I guess how quickly it's gone away, because it seems like it might be gone now, and they haven't been recording matches. They're running out of matches that they had already taped ahead of time and all that stuff. They can get rid of that in no time, and it's not going to make any difference. Nobody fucking watched this show. They clearly didn't care about it. They made a point to literally not show the championships on TV or promote it in any fashion whatsoever. So, hey, look at that. I'm not surprised that the thing that wasn't promoted, that nobody cared about from the start, that meant absolutely nothing, it was just a means to get paid a little bit extra from X, is potentially gone. Shocker. Yeah.
They haven't recorded a match in a month? Really? Huh. Because I just know that Speed airs every week. I didn't realize that they hadn't recorded anything since July 9th.
And they're taping really weirdly when it comes to main event too. Like, they're doing matches where it's like they'll do kind of one match before SmackDown, and then, you know,
they also have a new release strategy with main event where they're finally starting to release the matches on YouTube. You know, where it'll just be like, hey, check out Penta versus, I don't know, Grayson Waller from main event on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't even know that they're doing that. I have WWE subscribed on YouTube, but I also have it hidden. I use that TubeBuddy thing.
That's a kind of seems like it's canceling each other out, doesn't it? Like,
well, it's there in case I need it, and in case I need to have like an email alert set up for like when they go live for something. And I can very easily switch it off. Like, this isn't a promotion for TubeBuddy, but it's a great little or the TubeBuddy. Is that the thing? Actually, let me double check. It might not be TubeBuddy. That might be a different YouTube thing that's for like behind the scenes stuff. Pocket Tube is what it is. All these sound terrible. They all sound like they're not what it should be. I just realized how awful that sounds. But Pocket Tube is a little app, and it's like you can kind of take your subscriptions and put them into groups, and then you can like hide groups and stuff. So I have like comics, I've got music, I've got video games, film analysis stuff. So if I want to be like, hey, I see way too many wrestling things, I'm just bombarded with WWE posting every little thing, let me uncheck that, and then my subscription feed has Dan Murrell and Nando V Movies and Comics Explained and Botchmania. It's separate from the other thing. That's good. Botchmania 516 is out. I'm gonna click save to watch later. So like I have them on there, but I don't at the same time. So I would never pay attention at all if they upload something to their YouTube account, because it all looks the same too, and the thumbnails are all just pictures of wrestlers. So I just bypass it anyway. No, it is what it is, but that's something that should go away in one way or another as soon as they stop getting paid for it as main event too. So I'm not surprised if Speed is gone, and I guess if that is the case, they'll just not refer to it anymore, and you'll never hear about any championships anymore, and it'll just be gone. Say lovey.
I mean, Wikipedia already seems to be ahead of the game. They're already saying WWE Speed was an American professional web series, so they were already pushing the idea that it is over. And the Observer this week reported that it had quietly been dropped. So I guess they're just, going to no-sell the end of it, because at the end of the day, probably not a lot of people are watching.
Said it appears to be gone as well. But like they just started last year, and it was a 2-year deal, unless it was a 2-year deal with like an option.
Yeah, it could have been a 1-year deal with an option of a second year.
Well, also, not to try and dig too much into the political side of things, but who's ex-Rumble?
I did think about that as
that
soon
guy.
As
What's that guy? What's that guy's current relationship with the president of the United States? Not very good, it sounds like. So maybe.
Yep. Which just goes to show how fucking petty everybody is and how stupid they are, and like there's a right and a wrong in the universe, and it's not that hard to make the distinction. It's a great quote. It makes perfect sense, you know? It's just hate how being terrible people can ruin even a letter. Twitter will always be Twitter to me, and man, it'd be so much better when somebody else buys that from that fucking piece of shit. But can that piece of shit ruin the other piece of shit in the meantime, please? That would be very beneficial. If you want to try to like gain some karma points, can you try to undo that damage a little bit? Yeah, not at all surprised.
Speed. Nobody liked it.
No,
but I will admit, whenever I would click on a match, it was a pretty decent 5-minute match. You know, like they weren't bad matches. It was just silly.
It was a concept that just wasn't going to work from the onset. And I'm sure that they knew that too. They were just like, well, let's get the money while we can in the meantime. And that's why they put zero effort into it. And that's why the entire show was built around, let's just have matches with nothing to it other than you will eventually face the champion. It's the simplest rinse and repeat that you can possibly do with no, there's not a story. There's no character movement. The people that they used for it were people that it was like, is Alba Fire working tonight? No? Well, then she can wrestle on Speed. Is Ivy Nile working tonight? Who fucking cares? She's on the bottom rung of the Raw women's roster anyway. Let's have her lose to whoever the fuck. That's all it was. And I guess the final champions are just gonna, Soul Worker's just gonna not have that title anymore. And that'll be the end of it. But
Heritage Cup also disappeared. Still says Stacks is champion, but Heritage Cup also disappeared.
And we can't trust the website because they never update the website, as clearly evidenced by an entire year's worth of me being like, they still have Cody listed down as 2 champions. And then when they eventually switch it, they go, fuck. We never looked at WWE.com/superstars for an entire fucking year. Crazy. It takes 2 seconds to do things and they still don't want to do it. But, effort. That's gone. And I guess let's switch to another thing here. The possibility of TNA getting a TV deal in something related to WWE, according to Meltzer, who, of course, take everybody with a grain of salt. Possibly could be going to A&E or CW because of the connection to WWE, and possibly moving to Sunday nights.
That would be terrible. I just want to put that out there first. Thursday works right now. Thursday, there's not too much else on. If you put it on Sunday, you're just getting in the way of pay-per-views. Now, sure, sometimes WWE pay-per-views are on Saturday, but a lot of AEW pay-per-views are on Sunday. And I know you're going to say, well, that's the perfect reason for them to do it. And you'd be right. It's just, as a fan, wouldn't want to see that.
I mean, they have to get a TV deal at some point, somewhere, because what they're doing currently isn't sustainable. Because they are just, the only reason they have TV is because they are run by the company that owns the TV. So they need to be on a bigger network if they want to grow at any point in time. A&E and CW are perfectly sized for that kind of promotion, probably, in the sense that they're not going to get anything realistically bigger than that. They don't have a big enough audience for it. So, yeah, and if they end up switching to Sunday, then it's an odd time to do a wrestling show. I guess it depends on what time on Sunday, because you could do it, I don't know, 6 p.m. type thing, maybe, to make sure it doesn't clash with any pay-per-views that take place later on in the night. But as I say, it wholly depends on circumstances. This is still very much spitballing up in the air type thing, but you have to think they are heavily in the market for a TV network deal in some form or fashion. So it doesn't surprise me if they're going after ones that WWE at least have demonstrated that they have an interest in professional wrestling through the fact that they've done shows with WWE in the recent past. Or in CW's case, they're very present with NXT.
I would like, of those 2 options in particular, I'd prefer the CW. Because I think A&E hosting a full-blown wrestling show is weird. given that A&E is just a biography channel. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a typical thing where it's like, remember MTV? It used to be music television, and then it became, for some reason, reality show, real world type things. And I guess now it's just that ridiculousness show. It's over and over and over again.
So stupid.
Yeah, ridiculous. Ridiculousness.
Pun intended. Okay.
Part of me deep down hopes that, and I know this is absolutely not the case, but my hope would be that TNA has been secretly using this deal with WWE and just letting WWE get their way in terms of, okay, you can have our championships and have your people become our champions, just so they can help them on the process of getting a TV deal and then end the partnership. Now they're on a bigger network or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, we used you, and that was the whole purpose, and then we just move on from it. But I doubt that's the case.
That would be one of the more happy endings of this scenario.
But at the end of the day, they have to get this deal, because otherwise, how are they going to fulfill Eric Bischoff's prediction to become the number 2 wrestling promotion in North America if they don't have a TV deal?
Real American freestyle, brother.
Yeah.
Fox Nation is going to take over the globe.
Yeah, the Bischoff thing is
it gets to a point where like you become a parody of yourself almost.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you need to say.
It is funny though. It's so funny to see like stuff that you just kind of go like, all right, do you realize you can have an opinion that makes a lot of sense, and at the same time you can look like a complete jackass and completely invalidate the opinion, and it's this world's crazy. What are some updates to the G1? Let's talk about some New Japan stuff.
I mean, we're past the halfway point of the kind of the main block stuff now. So at the moment we got in block A. As I say, they've clearly done a design thing to keep things very, very close, because there's only 4 points separating the top of block A and the bottom of block A, and the same thing with block B. Like at the top of block A at the moment, there's Yosuji, Yuya Uemura, and Evil, all on 8 points. So they're kind of like, you can understand it with both Suji and Uemura. Evil, I guess, considering how much they push House of Torture, makes sense for him to be high up there. I'm a bit surprised still that they've got Tanahashi so low, but it seems like my potential prediction of him winning, because they really had nothing else to do, and so they'll make his retirement match the title match at Wrestle Kingdom. That doesn't seem like the direction they're going with. Having David Finlay super low, he's on 4 points as well, is a bit surprising, because they're basically saying, okay, if Finlay doesn't win all his remaining matches, then there's no way that he's getting into the next round. And that seems like an interesting step to take for someone who they, at least at some point earlier this year, felt like they were transitioning into the main event scene. So it feels odd that he's so low down there. I think it's building up to at least Suji is going to make it into the next round. I think probably one of Evil and Uemura are going to make it as well, and then someone who's currently behind in the points will rise up to take the third qualifying spot. In Block B, they still have, like, the 4 people they have at the top are Yoshihashi, Drilla Maloney, Ren Narita, and Great Khan, which may not mean much for people that don't watch a lot of New Japan. What it means for someone who watches a bit of New Japan is, wow, these are the 4 people that should be at the bottom of your standings, and these are the guys that are at the top. And it's like, why? The rest of the people underneath it is Zack Sabre Jr., Konosuke Takeshita, Shota Umino, Shingo Takagi, and El Phantasmo, who are, they're not all the greatest, but like these are the 5 people that you say, okay, these are your 5 people now that Gabe Kidd is out of the tournament, has been still out injured. These are the 5 people that would be contesting those 3 spots, and these are the ones that are having to get past your more mid-card tag team level guys. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of shapes out. My gut instinct is that they've just decided the B block is going to be the all of the also rans get off to a flying start and they get a lot of points out of it, and then the people that are actually the favourites are going to do the come from behind resurgence towards the end, and they'll end up getting the spots. I think that it will end up being Zack Sabre Jr., Kaisuke Takeshita, and then probably either Shota or Shingo to take the final spot in the top 3, and then the rest of them. I'd be surprised if like the top 4 in that win more than one of their remaining matches left to make sure that the others get to where they need to be. So yeah, but right now they're just keeping things super close and they're making it somewhat unpredictable, but it isn't helping with the either anticipation or interest in this tournament, which is still very much at like basement level.
You still have an idea in mind about like some of those people when it comes to Wrestle Kingdom, like if it's Tanahashi, you think it's Tanahashi, Zack Sabre Jr., and then like how do you get like a Shota Umino? Do you have kind of like a basic card in mind that you think they're going to be heading towards, or is it sort of just like just throw your hands up and just wait kind of thing?
No, I'd say I don't have a clue because I just don't either trust or understand the booking of this company anymore. Like,
yeah, they're in a slump. They're in a down period, and I think that's just gonna be what this era is looked at. I still think Takeshita should win, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that's the route that I would take because he's just the most ready-made main event star and the best wrestler that you have working for your company. So even if he is like you're having to share him with AEW and DDT, he's still the best name that you possibly could have in terms of just having great matches and be able to put on the style of main event that you want to do. Yeah, so that they're in a slump, both of obviously things out of their control, like, well, I say out of their control, Japan just doesn't have any money in the wrestling scene anymore, so you are going to lose guys like Ospreay and Okada and people that were big names are going to move on to different promotions. But then it's just an issue of their own creation in a big way because they just haven't built up any of their younger guys to take on the mantle of being top stars. And maybe you can argue that some of those people that they did have hopes for, that there was expectations attached to, haven't lived up to their potential. But you haven't platformed them well enough to give them that chance to sink or swim. And then when you have platformed them, it's almost like feels like a last chance sort of situation rather than, okay, we haven't naturally got you there. So yeah, it's just a very difficult period for them at the moment, and it's hard to, with the current regime, and well, I said current regime, it's been the regime for a long time, but the way that the current regime is working from a creative standpoint or a booking standpoint, it's hard to predict what their mindset is at. Because at the end of the day, they've spent more time this year on building up the House of Torture more than anything else, so it wouldn't surprise me if they just had to either win the G1, which I think would be an utter disaster from both a match quality and creative standpoint. But they've spent so much this year like devoted to making the House of Torture a bigger faction as possible that why not make their de facto leader or one of the people that wins the G1? Like, so yeah, it's hard to predict at the moment.
Well, more updates when that comes around, and obviously when this tournament's over and starts shaping up everything for Wrestle Kingdom, we'll talk about that in the future too.
But by next week, there'll only be like a couple of shows left to go, I think. So the final night of the main block is on August 13th. So by the time we go around next week, we should have a pretty clear idea about. Some people will have already qualified, or have an idea about who is likely to have qualified for the knockout stages, as it were. So yeah, then we can give a bit more of a clearer update. Right now, it's still a bit of a haze because there's so many people so close together.
Now let's start getting into some of our TV talk, and this is gonna, kind of in some ways factor into some SummerSlam stuff and give Rob an opportunity to talk about some of the SummerSlam things too. Raw and NXT both had more Hulk Hogan tributes and stuff, so that ate up the first a little bit. Jey Uso, blah, blah. Have you noticed, anybody on smarkmmo.com, my coverage of this has been very much more so, even more than the normal lately, of just like literally every single one of these promos is exactly the same. I'll tell you if there's anything interesting. And if not, then it's just promo Jey Uso. You know exactly what he said. Fucking moving on. I'm going to win at SummerSlam. The end. Over and over and over again. Cool moment with AJ Styles tossing Kairi Sane in that 6-person mixed tag match. I like that.
That was great. There was a slow build to that moment. Like Kairi was really getting ready, but the actual moment looked really cool. So I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed the idea, at least, of the Judgment Day having a title defense. I can't really talk too much about the match with LWO because I wasn't really paying too much attention to it, to be honest. I just knew that the Judgment Day wasn't going to lose, so I was mentally checked out of the whole thing. El Grande Americano came out. They did a whole thing with Pete Dunne under the mask now. So
It
3
was a
people.
different mask, though. Like it felt like it was intentionally a different mask. Like if this is going to be El Grande Americano Dos or something, which I hope they don't do. But, you know.
They're a little all over the place with this without fully committing one way or another in a way that it makes sort of seem like they're just on the fly being like, all right, this week we're going to...
Kaiser is excelling in the role. That's funny, Kaiser role.
Not my favorite, but, you know.
He went to Mexico. He can actually speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So he got over with the people. He starts singing, and he's singing to the crowd, and the crowd's loving it. So he has fallen backwards into greatness. You know, I think he's actually going to do really well in this. I don't want to see Pete Dunne do this. I want to see Pete Dunne be a modern day Regal. You know, be
Pete Dunne.
Be done. He's so fucking good. I don't want to see him do this. Like, and for that matter, I'm kind of ready to see Charlie Dempsey go and be a wrestler somewhere else. But we'll get to NXT in a little bit. But I'm ready to see these guys actually excel. So I'm not crazy about this.
Funny how they can do that with Pete Dunne, and yet there's still not anything for Tyler Bate to do.
Yeah, he's gonna be El Grande Americano Trace. Like,
I guess so. I don't know, but yeah, they had an 8-person or an 8-woman tag. I guess Nikki Bella had some kind of an implant issue that happened during the match.
Yeah, I think she
that sucks.
Busted an implant on a Piper Niven spot.
An elbow drop or something. Yeah.
The whole moment, like it almost, dare I say, I'm not gonna say the quality in ring felt like AEW, but like the concept feels very like, it's fucking Rhea, Nikki Bella, Io Sky, and Stephanie.
It's an all-star 8-woman tag match for $100,000.
Here's the 4 top like awesome women. You're gonna do the Io Sky thing where she points at her head, and you want to see Stephanie do the devil's kiss, and you just want to see Rhea. It worked. I liked it.
It's funny. It's just like, yeah, Io, do the point. You know,
listen, it works.
Yeah, it's fun. In 2 weeks, Lyra Valkyria will, in 1 week, stomp Becky with her boots.
Right.
Her little Becky stompers.
All right. The funny thing there was I was texting you, you know, I'm so happy. Lyra's so comfortable on the mic, and just before I hit send, in 2 weeks, in 1 week, like,
and we all fuck up. It's like, you know, this isn't jest. It's not like, oh, she's terrible or whatever. I fuck up constantly on this podcast, and it's a podcast, let alone in front of thousands of people. Like, you know, it's not the end of the world.
Fantastic. I see some people saying she's one of the best in the company. I'm not ready to go there, but she has become one of my favorite wrestlers to watch on Raw. You know, like I've been enjoying her rise a lot, actually.
I would never jump straight to like, oh, she's, you know, top of the company type of thing like that. But I've been hard on Lyra in the past, and she's gotten better and better over time. And, you know, I thought it was like, it's not my favorite type of promo. I think that it was clunky in some ways, like, you know, whatever, but like, it's fine. It was kind of cute, you know, whatever. Like, it's again, it's not the end of the world. Who fucking cares? The match, they've had like 4 matches already. I don't care about this feud anyway. So if the way that you want to have some fun with it is to be like, look at my sneakers, then it's all right, fine. Sure. Give me something to talk about more than I'm going to beat Becky. No, you're not. I'm going to beat you. Okay. Well, here's an elbow to the face. Same shit. Which is basically just the Jey Uso, Bronson Reed thing. It's just, well, why don't we have those two do the same brawl segment? And this time, the Bronze come out on top, because last time they didn't.
They still roam in sneakers.
A lot of sneaker stuff. And yeah, some people were like Bully Ray was just kind of like, I think it was Bubba Ray was just sort of like, oh shit, and you realize how big of a deal that was. He should steal people's sneakers every week. It's like, don't make this a thing now, you know?
Yeah. Wasn't somebody doing that in AEW for a little bit?
Was someone?
Callum was Santana and Ortiz that were taking people's sneakers?
That one might have passed me by. Was that like a BTE thing?
No, like I feel like that's a thing. Like when you like in an actual like in the streets, you know, I'm gonna knock this guy out and take his shoes. I feel like that's what they were going for. And
I mean, that might be a thing. I don't know whether like a quite white Irish woman would be doing the sort of that sort of thing.
No.
Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were moving the sneakers. You were bringing back the sneakers thing about the Lara Valkyria thing.
No, it just happens to be 2 sneaker stories.
Yeah, now it's like so many sneakers too. No, I don't know. I mean, it's nothing that I've seen. Again, maybe that's a sign of my own particular brand of whiteness that is not something that I'm super familiar with. But yeah, I can't recall Santana and Ortiz doing it. But if they did, then yeah, maybe there is more of a general theme surrounding it.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea. Okay, it was Kingston and Moxley stole the Young Bucks shoes. Okay, but yeah, that's like a thing, and for some reason, a lot of people were like, "Oh shit, he took his shoes." So hell yeah, keep stealing shoes. Bronson Reed should tsunami people into the ground and then steal their shoes. I think that's great.
I think it'd be good if like he tsunamied someone and their boots flew off after he hit the tsunami. That would be a cool effect if they could figure that out at some point. Don't know how you do that. You have to like tie invisible ropes onto the boots and pull them at the same time as they hit the tsunami, but I'm sure it can be done.
And then if that's booked by Chris Park, he'll be like, I'm sorry, Bruce, the shoelaces were please don't fire me.
To be honest, that sounds like a lot of Thunderdome era shit, so I don't know if I want to bring that stuff back.
Sheamus beat Grayson Waller or whatever, you know, stories, whatever.
It wasn't part 3 with Rusev? God, you're surprising me.
No, because Rusev came out afterwards and beat the shit out of him with the shillelagh.
Yeah.
So then you get part 3 soon.
Yeah, part 3 next week,
yeah, that's that way you can milk that for 4 weeks instead, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever you can do.
For what it's worth, we're crapping on it, but I like the matches they're having in the ring. It's just like there's not a lot of stuff to sink your teeth into there.
Yeah, it's not substance. It's just how about they wrestle, and then next week they're like, how about again? You know, what is their feud? They wrestle each other. Okay, yeah.
And then
and Michael Cole says about how they used to be in League of Nations together. Yeah.
Oh, did you see on Monday when Michael Cole brought up the mixed match challenge and Corey Graves goes, I got an email to never bring that up again, but I guess that stayed in your inbox, didn't it, Cole?
I didn't even catch that.
It might have been an international commercial thing, but I thought that was so funny. I guess maybe there's like a thing of, hey, we're never doing that again, so don't bring up the mixed match challenge.
All things considered, it wasn't that bad.
It was good. It was fun.
It gave some people some character work. Like it did the Team Little Big thing. And, you know, I'm sure it was fun for some of the people that did this stuff. Like Asuka and Miz working together seemed to have fun. And
Sami
you know,
Zayn, Becky Lynch had fun.
Jimmy and Naomi got to tag together a little bit. Rusev and Lana, like, yeah. To me, that was like more beneficial than Speed, you know. But whatever.
Yeah.
Let's go to NXT and run down some of those things. So this was a confusing episode of NXT in some ways. And not confusing in the I don't understand what's happening, but more so in the really that's how you decided. All right, fine, kind of a way, because they had it set up. Whoever wins the double championship setup at TNA Slammiversary between Masha Slamovich and JC Jane is going to have Lash Legend and Jada Parker both going after them, because Lash Legend was the runner-up in the Evolution Battle Royal, so she's going to try to make that momentum work in her fashion that way. And Jada Parker was like, nah, screw you. I mean, I still won a championship, and people were chanting my name, so to me, that means momentum, which it shouldn't really, but sure.
Well, I think there was also the idea of she eliminated more people in the match.
Oh, that was an element that I didn't catch that. Yeah. So that makes sense then. And, you know, hey, JC Jane wins, so she has 2 tag team partners. Let's put those 2 against Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley. Makes perfect sense. If you go in the direction that I was assuming that it would have gone, which of course I was wrong, Jada Parker beats Jasmine Nix, Lash Legend beats Fallon Henley, and then you go, well, the 2 of you both just won those matches, so we're not sure which one of you deserves the title shot first. Let's do a match between the 2 of you, or a triple threat, or whatever it might be, you know, whatever the direction. What I didn't anticipate would happen was Jada Parker would beat Jasmine Nix. Sure, it's all working in the direction that makes sense. And then there would be a couple other segments here and there, which we'll come back to. And, you know, it chronologically, it doesn't need to be the case. But then a promo in the ring with Blake Monroe talking about Jordynne Grace and calling her ugly, which that's another whole thing. We'll get into that in a moment. That gets interrupted with Lola Vice, Jada Parker, and I'm like, all right, Lash Legend's out next. And Kalani Jordan comes out instead. And no Lash Legend comes out. And they all fight. And Jada Parker, who was booked as a babyface against Jasmine Nix and has had her babyface moments here and there, is now fighting alongside Blake Monroe, essentially. And it ends with Kalani and Lola, like, in a better spot. And I'm like, where the hell did Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan, and even Blake Monroe for that matter, come into the mix here? And where is Lash Legend? A couple segments later, Fallon Henley beats Lash Legend because Nia Jax, of all people, comes and attacks Lash Legend. And then later on, they do a little thing and she explains a little bit more. And it's essentially, and again, this makes sense in retrospect or whatever. Nia's mad that Lash eliminated her from the Battle Royal and that she looked dominant. And well, screw you, I'm the most dominant woman, so I'm going to fuck you over. And that's a feud now. So I get why Lash Legend wasn't in that segment, because she's moved on to now she's going to feud with Nia Jax. But they should have put that in-ring promo after the Fallon Henley win. And then that could have been an excuse for why she wasn't in there, because it would have been like, all right, technically backstage, Ava was like, all right, well, Lash Legend lost that match, so she's no longer in the picture. And then everybody else goes, I want to try to take that spot. And that's where you get Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan. To me, that's the most simple, like, script supervisor type of, like, logical. You go A, B, C, you don't go A, C, B. And yeah, that's just a flaw, I think. But I guess we're not even going to get Lola Vice and Jada Parker mixed in with that next week, unless they decide to announce it after the fact, because they only announced Kalani Jordan versus Blake Monroe. And that was the big takeaway for that. So I'm like, Blake's calling Grace ugly, and that's going to lead to a match with Kalani Jordan because Lola Vice is next to her and Jada Parker beat. What? Like, huh?
It did read a little scrambled to me, too. Also, I just don't like the whole LOL. The bit is that Grace is ugly.
Yeah, it's the Piggy James thing again.
Number one, she's not. Number two, what the fuck is this? Like, look, I'm all for the fact that, Blake and Chelsea and a lot of these girls grew up on Divas era, so they like that kind of storytelling. But I thought we moved on from that for a reason. Like, is this the kind of compelling story you want to do? Mariah May is hot, and Jordan Grace isn't the stereotypical body image, so that's the feud. Especially for these two, because like you're talking about a former AEW Women's World Champion and like the face of TNA for the last 4 years. They should be on SmackDown, doing things with those people. Why is this the story we're telling? I'm not a fan at all.
And it's not even a story for the championship.
Yeah,
like, not that it would be like justifying it 100%, but like, at least it would be if Jordan Grace was champion and Blake Monroe came out and was like, it's a bane on the championship to be around somebody so ugly. It would be like, you don't need to do the ugly thing, but it would be for the title. This is Blake doesn't want Jordan Grace to win the title because she thinks that she's ugly. So she completely turned heel for that reason, and she'd rather keep it on JC Jane then. She doesn't want to win it herself? Huh?
By the way, she pinned JC Jane. She should be like arguing, I deserve fucking whatever.
Right, yeah. Like
there's also like the weird thing of like, Jordan Grace, you were an extra few years ago, and I was a WWE shop merch girl. Okay. you know what I mean? Like, I try not to be super negative, as you both know, because you've known me forever now, but like, this is just not good. Like, this is just objectively not good. What are we like? It feels like we're taking 10 steps backward. And I don't like that.
I think I want to caveat my response to the promo and the segment in general a little bit with, it is difficult for Blake Monroe in the sense that ever since she made the jump from AEW to WWE, every action that she makes is scrutinized to such a higher level than a lot of other people. Because of that, everyone's just looking, oh, you were a big star in AEW and now you've come over to be in NXT. Like, especially for people that are very virulently AEW fans, it's like they're taking anything that she would do on NXT and looking to pick holes in it wherever possible. So I sympathise with her predicament in that regard, and the way that she has her segments and her actions so heavily scrutinised compared to a lot of other people these days. Having said that, I don't think the promo itself was particularly good, just from a delivery standpoint. Mariah May's always been a bit hit and miss with promos when she was in AEW, now Blake Monroe, obviously. So she could always get a bit too monotone, a bit too just like the cadence goes off a little bit. But beyond that, the whole content of the promo, as I say, we're all aware of the Pig James stuff and how it went beforehand, and the overall like very negative reaction to it for, a woman who is by no standpoint ugly in any sort of, in that point, Vicky James, in this issue, it's Jordan Grace. Like, by any metric, they're not ugly people. And I mean that is like, it's a little bit of like a bait thing to do. Yeah, you can argue Mariah May's a heel and her whole character is based around the glamour and having to look a certain way. You could compare it to maybe akin to like Beautiful People, obviously Lakeville back in the day as well. So I don't know, it's I wouldn't do it because I think that it just sends a bad message, especially if what I imagine is going to happen based on just their tenures is that Mariah May's going to win this feud. because she's the one that's there long term. Like, if the whole story is built around, Jordan vanquishes Blake and like moves on and wins the title, then I can kind of see that as you can kind of rationalize it in that way. But the likelihood is that Jordan's been in NXT for a while, well, longer than Blake has, at the very least, a few months longer. And she's already had shots at the title, she's not won it. And she seems to be the one that's probably more primed and ready to go up to... They're both ready to go to the main roster, but she's the one that's more primed and ready because she's been in the system longer. So it's likely she's there to have the big feud with Monroe and then lose upwards onto the main roster, and then Monroe continues and wins the NXT title or whatever they end up planning on doing with her. So that makes it a little bit more unpalatable, I guess, that she's going to say these things and then going to win the feud probably. So, I'd say I don't like the kind of the body image, building things around the body image stuff, but I don't know. It is a character. It's always like, it's a weird double standard thing in that you want heels to be heels and you want them to be hateable, and in which case they have to say shit that gets you hated, like saying things that like are against the grain, like, because you can't just say, oh, we want them to say cool shit that that targets them and gets like some wry little chuckles and cheers out of people, because that doesn't get you hated as a heel. I'm not saying go out and say racist or homophobic shit or anything along those lines.
Yeah, there's a difference between that.
Yeah, there's a line that you shouldn't cross. But it's more of a case of you want them to, if you want them to be hated, you have to then to say things which are, first of all, like in no way justifiable, and also just like mean and nasty and things that people are going to be angry against. So in a way, I can understand them why they're doing this, but I just think it's gonna be viewed the wrong way, and it's already being taken the wrong way, because it feels like a hark back to like catty diva era bullshit. Whereas like you never see. Put it this way, and I know it's not the same thing. Again, like trying to always muddle with my words a little bit, but you never see a men's storyline based around how attractive they are. Realistically, not very often anyway.
Not anymore. Like
no.
So
why
would
would
be a thing?
it seems like a strictly like this is a thing that would only happen in the women's division, and maybe it's just because like you can't just treat them the same way, but you should treat them more. It should be more of a case of, Blake Monroe just doesn't like Jordan Grace for whatever reason, but the character is based around the idea of she is what a WWE wrestler should look like, and she thinks that Jordan Grace doesn't fit that mold. So I think it's a complicated one. In a way, I can understand why they're taking this. I can also understand people's distaste with the whole. This is the route they've decided to take with this storyline.
Like, yes, I've already said I don't agree with going in that direction, but even more than that, for me, like it's just lame altogether. You know what I mean? Like these two in particular are capable of more, and I understand what you're saying, where it's like there are a lot of people unfairly scrutinizing Blake Monroe and her stuff because of where she came from. But like, I didn't want to do that. I'm just saying, like, come on, just I think that this division is capable of more, and I think regressing could have dire consequences in 6 months when you go, wow, that division fell off a cliff, and I don't want to see that.
Yeah, a lot of my aversion to it is I can understand the story element, but you're forgetting the main story part in the process. Like it annoys me on an extra level as a writer to just be like, this should be leading toward championship stuff. And instead it's just a story that has nothing to do with that. Because it's not, I cost you the championship because I don't think that you're attractive enough, and I should be the champion because I'm the most attractive. So that means that I'm going to also go after JC Jane. It's just, I think you're ugly, fuck you. And then the championship stuff doesn't make any sense. It doesn't factor into it at all. And we're told to forget that because well, that's not the story we feel like telling. We just needed that to happen to get people to talk. And for some reason, Grace needs to lose a bunch of championship matches. I don't know why. It's like a humbling thing or something. Or I guess in their mind, they're probably thinking, keep like edging the title change over and over and over again, and then it's eventually, well, you know, the ninth time she'll win, and then everybody will go, oh, finally, and then whatever. But at that point, people don't care anymore, and it happens more times than not. They never learn their lesson from that. So this is not a great transition, but Tony D'Angelo got whacked off. It's not from the same thing. He, well, we think that he got whacked based off of the Sopranos, and
so I think he got. So, like, I haven't seen anyone else float this idea except for me to you privately, but like, they end the show with a post-credit scene of Tony D just sitting down for dinner, and his server's like, "You want more wine, Don?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not the Don anymore. Tony D is fine." And then somebody appears to walk in. You see a shadow. Tony turns his head and fade to black. And I just went, "That's the Sopranos."
Like, yeah, absolutely. How do people not look at that and think that's the Sopranos? That's exactly what happens at the end of the Sopranos. To the point. Oh, sorry, brother. I didn't mean to cut over. But
no, go ahead.
But to the point where I think they're not going to bring this up ever again. That I don't think it's like he's literally going to turn up on the main roster and they're not going to mention anything about this again.
Where the ending of the story is just first in the episode, Luca just shows up out of nowhere and goes, "Families don't last forever." Then Stax goes, "Families don't last forever," and then he just gets mysteriously whacked, and you're like, "Oh well." Like, what's the growth there? Where do you go from there? The Sopranos did it and it sucked, but at least they never had to do anything else. You know, like it was over.
The story wasn't continuing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the idea. That I think the story's not continuing. I think it's literally a case of they decided to go with the Sopranos thing because essentially Tony D's whole story has been, you know, a chintzy version of the Sopranos, where he's been the Don of NXT for a number of years. It's come to a natural conclusion because he won the match against both his former stable mates and former members of his family. And now he's pretty much said, okay, I've just shed the Don name. I'm just Tony D now. And then gets whacked by somebody. And I think the way I would just do it is if you're going to go full Sopranos with it, it's just a case of, like, that happens. We never find out who the guy was. They never reference it again, and then Tony D just shows up on Raw or SmackDown or wherever he's going to as the Don again, and you start all over again. That's literally what I think is going to happen. Or that's what I would do, because the alternative is, which the thing I'm actually really worried about, is if they do this, do everything that I said to do, and then he comes up to the main roster as Tony D'Angelo, and he's just Guy.
Yeah,
guy called Tony D'Angelo, and they never reference his character in NXT or anything. Yeah, exactly. They never reference his character in NXT, and he just becomes like, you know,
he gets a Cameron Grimes main roster run.
Yeah, exactly.
Job out to a few people and then get released. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't think anybody wants that because nobody wants to see people get utilised badly and get fired. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a case of I think it's, but that's what I imagine is going to happen based on that ending, because I just don't see. Is he just going to come back and just do another like nothing feud? He's not going to win the NXT Championship. They seemingly have moved past that point. He won everything else that could possibly happen, and he's been in NXT for since 2.0 launched. He was one of the founding guys of the 2.0 era.
Yep.
So he's been there for years and years and years. Like they can't just keep him there forever.
Yeah, but they're in a bad way with that, where like a lot of these people, like look how long they kept Roxy. They kept Roxy forever.
Yeah, but eventually she did move up.
Yeah, but she only just moved up.
Yeah, well, maybe it's time for Tony D to move up now.
You know,
I mean, I say they keep guys in there for way too long. Guys and girls in NXT for way longer than they need to. And again, it's understandable to a degree because it is its own show. they have a television deal. You're not going to just get rid of all of your big stars every single year because, like, even if the main roster could use that talent, you've got to like replenish the talent in NXT, and you're always going to have diminishing returns in that regard because the people who are on the lower end of NXT are very inexperienced, they're green, they're not quite ready for this, but you cater for that because you have a group of people at the top that have been there for 3-4 years, even though they could have moved up 2 years ago. That's just always the way it's going to be with NXT because it's the weird halfway house between Evolve, which is for the very, very young and inexperienced people. The main roster is for your top names, and NXT is in the middle ground where you need to have some people that should have been on the main roster years ago, some people that are probably not quite ready to be on NXT but are there because you need to start the transition process, and then a handful of people in the middle that are kind of exactly where they need to be right now. So, yeah, Tony D was at the far end of that, and now they seemingly are moving in the direction of moving him up, especially if we are anticipating some kind of either draft or shuffle or something happening post SummerSlam. Then Tony moving up to the main roster feels like the right move.
It is weird though that it's like Adriana Rizzo has this whole, like, we talked about it already, the whole, like, you know, I'm going to go away and I'm going to go to a safe house because I'm afraid, even though the safe house is a place that the guy that I'm afraid of literally helped me set up and knows exactly where it is, which defeats the whole purpose. And then somebody's right outside of it. And, you know, like all the bad storytelling that goes along with that. Rizzo comes back just arbitrarily to be like, how about the three of you fight and then we move on? And then that happens and Rizzo disappears. She hasn't done anything since setting that up. And then the potential end of this story is the Heritage Cup disappears and Tony D gets killed and Stax might be starting a new group with Josh Briggs based off of the idea of you have no loyalty, so why don't you be loyal to me? And Luca just looks at the culling and it's just like, man, I wish I had friends. Like, what the fuck is that group of stories?
Okay, so well, what you could do, and this is me spitballing here, you move Tony D up, right? You have the culling eventually turn on Tatum because they're mad that she's getting a shot that Izzy isn't. And then Tatum and Luca form a group of, hey, I wish I had friends. I wish I had friends. Let's be friends and find other people who wish they had friends. Go get Brooks Jensen from Evolve, you know, and
Who's
that could
like
be a thing.
a heel who's not a heel?
And then Stax can be on screen with his actual fiancee, Ariana Grace. Which,
it does seem like they might be going in that direction because she was checking up on him. So it's like, I'm down with like Stax and Grace. That's a good pairing. Like they already have chemistry together. They're not married yet, right? They're just engaged.
They just got engaged.
Yeah. So, you know, their significant other, spouse, whatever you want to classify. Cool. Yeah. Give Stax somebody who he can play off of, who, you know, it never hurts to have arm candy that's a beautiful girl that can be character work to go along with it and to work the other side of the division and stuff. That's a positive. If you want to put Briggs with him and have him be like his henchman and his muscle, that's a thing for Briggs to do. Totally fine with that. It's a little weird to bring it in as, man, you've got no loyalty. Do you want to team up?
Why is Yoshiki and Amora so angry?
And and Amora is just like, fuck you for saying that there's no honor. That's the most important thing in my life. You know what? I'm going to pivot over and I'm going to fuck you up now. Very weird storytelling.
This is the whole night too.
Yeah, all of this stuff. Like we already said, like the Blake Monroe stuff and the Jada Parker stuff, and
we had 3 random flashes on screen of Joe Hendry. They're so random that if you're not looking at your TV screen, like Tony doesn't.
Yeah, I did not see these things happen.
You didn't see the 3 teases that happened across 2 hours, and I'm just sitting there going, I saw the first 2, and I'm like, well, he'll show up and attack Ethan Page, right? No, because Tony D has to go get whacked off.
Yeah, no, Nathan Page just beat Santino. It means nothing. It was what the it was just, hey, let's just do this for the sake of it. Why not? Sure.
And I was gonna say this for my SummerSlam predictions, which I'm sure we're getting to, but this is a thing I've had in my mind lately. For some reason, WWE, with more hours of TV than ever before, has really turned into back to being a live event business, because they're just going, hey, the real way you need to experience this is by being in the arena and doing stupid things like yeeting and saying what and saying like, because when you're watching it on TV, you're going, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, you're analyzing it too much, whereas the people who are just having the time of their life, bopping their arms up and down, like, yeet. I really feel like that's the way this needs to be consumed.
And that speaks to a lot of things, because it's like, you guys clearly have, based off of Unreal, a giant conference room where you can discuss these things, and this is your storytelling.
And 12 writers.
Yeah, who can debate about who does everybody see winning the Royal Rumble? Punk. I don't know. What about fucking Jay? That's a little bit weird.
I like it.
And then at the same time, it's, give the masses the most simple bullshit and dangle keys in front of them. And if you just go one more time, do you want to put your hands up and just go yeet? Then people are like, hey, I'm having fun. He said yeet. The music's going. You're like, okay. No wonder they don't want to tell proper stories, because these are the same people that are all like,
and by the way, God bless
Superman's woke, or like, I don't understand how the Fantastic Four is the Fantastic Four. If they've got a baby, why is it a Fantastic Five? And you're like, Christ.
Wait, that's not it. Never mind. I don't want to get into that yet. Yeah, it's just, it's one of
I literally, by the way, a real quick mention, when I saw Fantastic Four, I literally heard somebody say at the post-credit scene, and I'm not spoiling anything, because Dr. Doom shows up and he's talking to Franklin, and it's like in a movie that's got Franklin fucking Richards, who is the most important character in Marvel that will eventually become Galactus in the next iteration of the universe, and all this confusing shit. Somebody goes, with the Dr. Doom scene, wait, who's that? It's like, it's Dr. fucking Doom. You know him. Do you know Darth Vader? He's based off of Dr. Doom. God damn it, you fucking idiots. Like, we're all that stupid now. Well, not all of us. But
yeah. It's very strange. And I'm just at a point where, like, I'll say this as a lead-in. Like, I've been watching a lot of the classic SummerSlam matches, because WWE's Vault has been uploading them, and WWE's uploaded the whole, 25 matches countdown. I'm going, they used to get a lot of shit done in 15 minutes. And now they have 45. And they're doing like a third of the work in 3 times the amount of time. And I'm going, what happened?
Now
all that to say, NXT was confusing.
There were a couple things that happened on here that I will give a positive for. Like, they did a thing with Hank and Tank where, so if you missed last week, Undertaker had said to Javon Evans, go after the biggest dog in the yard. And Andre Chase was backstage saying to Uriah Connors and Cale Dixon, you should do the same thing. Go after the biggest dog in the yard. And since they're morons, they were like, oh, well, the best way for us to get a tag title match, clearly based off of the last couple people, is to beat the tag team champions up backstage with a bunch of steel chairs, because that's what happened for the culling. And they go into the locker room storming in with the chairs, and Hank and Tank are like, yo, what the fuck? You could have just asked. And they're like, oh shit. All right, that's pretty easy. And Andre Chase is like, I didn't fucking tell you to do that. Like, I thought that was such a refreshingly good, stupid funny segment.
That legitimately made me pop. In that one segment, I think they found their niche as jackasses. Like, they're just dumb, and it works. It's like Edge and Christian 2000s, where they're just the lovable, like, surfer bro idiots, and that's the kind of vibe Uriah and Kale were giving here, and I thought it was great.
That being said, they did also do a whole thing where there was a backstage thing where Robert Stone and Prime Minister of Evolve, Stevie Turner, basically said the exact same thing. Stone was like, here's the medical update on Ricky Saints. He's a little injured, but he'll be back in no time. And then immediately afterwards, Stevie Turner's like, and here's the update on Jordan Grace. She's a little injured, but she'll be back in no time.
Well, they're different injuries, and
Bruce Sternum versus a messed up neck.
The guy has to say the guy part, and the girl has to say the girl part, don't he? Okay?
Yeah, it's so stupid. And then Lexus King comes in, and he's like, you buy this bullshit about Miles Bourne? If he was deaf, he wouldn't be a wrestler. He's making it.
Okay. Lexus King is horrible. Like,
I love it.
I had so much hope for Brian Pillman Jr. And I will admit, this is the best thing he's done. He's completely steered into the skid of just being a jackass. And it's working more than anything he's done. So kudos. But him just going, he's not deaf. If he was deaf, he wouldn't be a wrestler. Ava, do something about it. And I've genuinely funny. Rare night for NXT where the jackasses actually got laughs all around.
Simultaneously, one of the most confusing, like, how did you get to this? And then, yeah, all right, this is why I watch, because this is fucking dumb and it's fun and, you know, whatever. And Javon Evans was like, yeah, I was planning on calling out Obafemi, and Trick Williams comes out and he's like, well, clearly if you're going for the biggest dog in the yard, it's me. And then I guess they're continuing that feud. So I am assuming we're going to get another triple threat match between those, and that's going to be when some title changes hands, and we probably give the NXT championship to Devon Evans. I don't know. They hadn't announced anything yet, so it does seem like they're just going to repeat what they did earlier this year, and once again add another list check mark to the, well, you can't give the person the championship when you do the thing. You have to do the thing, and then you have to wait a while, and then you have to come back and do the thing, because the sequel's when everything happens. It's a plague running in WWE right now, and that is like, you're showing your hand. Every writer does this. I do it. If you fucking look at the way that I set up the Power Rangers blueprint, or the whatever it might be, you would see like tropes that I do too. Like, we're not all, nobody's infallible, but like, it's such a thing that happens so often at this point that it's as predictable as when in the Kevin Dunn era, throw the person to the outside, and then we can have the commentator go, and SmackDown rolls on, and then we cut to the commercial. It's the same thing, you know, but then you throw the completely random stuff in there and you go, I don't know where they're going on that front. So NXT's interesting at the very least. And Tavion Heights is out of No Quarter Catch Crew because, again, that was the sequel. So that's what happens, is you lose the first time, then you kill some time and wait and do either nothing or you do something else in the meantime and come back around to it, and you just do it again. So he just wins, and Charlie Dempsey shakes his hand, and that's just the end of it. So maybe they reached a point where they were just like, we're fucking tired of this, let's move on anyway. But weird episode of NXT, and
absolutely strange.
Yeah. I still have more fun watching NXT than any other show, if not just because it's so fucking weird. So let's move over to AEW then, because SmackDown, yeah, it is what it is. Actually, did we talk about? We didn't talk about Kiana because it hadn't happened yet. Right? So Kiana James is back, and last week on SmackDown she showed up, and she is now Giulia's manager, which makes sense because Giulia is still, I don't want to phrase it this way, but there's no other way for me to phrase it. Giulia is still struggling with English, and it's making it hard for her to cut promos. So they paired her up with Kiana, who can cut a promo on her behalf while she is still learning. and it gets Kiana something to do. There's going to be a women's US title match where I'm assuming Giulia, I was just mixing them up. Giulia will retain, probably through Kiana helping her out a little bit over Zelina Vega. And I think that the pairing makes a lot of sense. I think that that's a good idea. I think Kiana looks great. I think that it's great that she's on TV again. I think that she's going to be better off in this role as a manager than just wrestling random ass matches. Cool. Thumbs up on all friends.
I want to see them let her grow as a manager. Just pull the plug in 2 months if it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Because they have a habit of doing this. You're gonna get a chance to shine in this way, and then if it doesn't work, they'll just be like, oh well, we tried. When they gave it like three, weeks of trying and then pull the plug. I want to see what she can do because it is a weird pairing, but I'm excited to see Kiana back and hopefully it works out well.
And, when it comes to the stuff tonight, sorry, for SmackDown, just to roll out the WWE stuff, it would be really beneficial if when you go to WWE.com/news that they have things set up. But then again, the website probably is one person sitting there banging on their computer thinking that it's Windows XP still. Damian Priest against Alistair Black.
A little credit. They're not hiring 60-year-olds.
They might be. I don't know. They should bring those monkeys from Superman. Jimmy Uso against Talatanga, Cody Rhodes and John Cena have another promo. It seems like it's a very run-of-the-mill episode of SmackDown. It doesn't really stand out to me as like this is a must-watch episode or whatever. So now it's back over to AEW and start getting into the Dynamite and Collision stuff that happened. Are you guys liking Collision being on Thursday nights?
Yeah, I think. I think it's nice when it does happen to have a kind of a more seamless transition from one show to the other. It makes Collision feel like a bit of a bigger deal, that it's not buried away on Saturdays when other stuff could be going on that distracts you from, the weekend. You could be doing stuff that's busy. Whereas if it's in the middle of the week, I'm more inclined to absolutely watch it at the usual time where I watch Dynamite. So
overall, I think it's a good move.
It's definitely better, but I also don't know if it would be the best move for them permanently.
I think that purely depends on like numbers in terms of people watching. Like if they get better ratings for, and again it's always proportionate. If they get better ratings for Collision on a Thursday than they do on a Saturday, or if there's like the value it brings on a Thursday is bigger than the value it brings on a Saturday, then I don't see any reason why they wouldn't make the changeable permanent. But it just depends on what else they've got going on, really.
So the events that went down on Dynamite over this past little bit. There were, in typical fashion, there's like some normal matches and stuff, the way that anything goes, but there were some quarterfinals for the Eliminator tournament that's going on. I hate the Eliminator name, by the way. I don't know if I've said that on the air or if it's just been elsewhere where I've been bitching about it, but I hate that it's Eliminator. You're not eliminating anybody. You're, whatever. I liked a lot that they continued this thing about Matt and Nick Jackson, where it's now canon that whenever they do these like an $80,000 tag team match or whatever, that's coming out of the Young Bucks paychecks. Yeah. And that they were referred to in their lower third as talent name.
They were given the jobber entrance. No entrance themselves. They were in the ring when the Outrunners were doing their entrance. They've now throughout the match they told the story of that they can't buy Rick Knox anymore, and so Rick Knox is going to just like not help him out in matches or anything along those lines. So yeah, they're just telling the story that the Bucks are poor now and they're not in power, and it's quite funny. And then they have this match with the Outrunners, which is, I think there must be something in the war between both the Bucks and the FTR, because the Outrunners are a good team. Don't get me wrong. I think that they're obviously a comedy act, but they can do some good stuff. But they've had these really good matches with the Bucks and FTR recently, in the sense that, yeah, obviously, if you pair anybody up with two of the best tag teams in the world, they're going to look better than they would do against, just your run-of-the-mill tag team. But I just think they're on a different kind of level in terms of their output at the moment, which is good to see. Especially because one of them is probably going to become tag team champions pretty soon. But I thought this match was very fun.
Yeah, I think,
I was surprised the Bucks won as well. But
yeah, I will admit I thought it was a bit of a bait and switch when you had to say talent name and insert social media here or whatever, and then they actually won the match. I was very surprised. But I don't think they'll get through the next match in the tournament because I think it will be FTR going to Forbidden Door. That being said, yeah, that when you're one of the best tag teams in the world, you can take a level, a level 5 out of 10 tag team and bring them up to an 8 out of 10 tag team for a night because you're one of the best in the world.
Should we cover the rest of the other tournament matches? I know it's bouncing between Dynamite.
Yeah, we can bounce between because they're going to go up against Brodito.
Yes.
Right? Right.
So Brodito beat Gates of Agony on Collision. Another good match. Really fun finishing move that Brodito have now, which is essentially Brody King monkey flips Bandido into a 450 while running towards I can't remember. I think it was Bishop Khan that they might have gone onto. It was whichever one it was. It's really just cool finishing sequence.
Yeah,
but
cool.
That team's grown pretty quickly because obviously with Buddy Matthews out of action, they've kept Brody King around by teaming up with Bandido. So it's a nice thing. They're obviously not going to win. And then later on in the show, they had the first semi-final match between FTR and the Bang Bang Gang, represented by Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn. And yeah, as you'd expect, FTR got the victory. I love that call back to matches that they'd had in the past between when it was Jay White and Juice Robinson against FTR back in the early days of Collision. So had a couple of callbacks to that, but naturally FTR won. I think it's pretty clear FTR are going to be the ones that win this tournament. They've been building that up clearly with their earlier interactions with the Hurt Syndicate as well. So, and it's seemingly the Hurt Syndicate might be turning face. It feels like.
Yeah, they had a backstage segment where MJF and Shelton Benjamin were talking, and there was Shelton Benjamin was like, "By the way, I see through your bullshit. I knew that this was a fake Rolex, and the only reason why we're not kicking your ass right now is basically because MVP is like the only reason you were here to begin with anyway, and like they're very much more in the babyface camp right now, and I think it's the right move too. Not only to potentially transition the titles, but people just are cheering too much for them. You got to go with it,
Well, we can admit this is out of nowhere, right? We can admit that they probably had more and they rushed the split because...
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, they took forever to get to that point, so maybe they didn't really have much.
Yeah, I'd say I think things might have changed over time. They might have not had the original plan of having MJF go after the world championship, because as we know from back in Double or Nothing, they were still kind of undecided going into that match whether it was going to be Ospreay or Hangman that would get the win. So it makes sense for if Hangman being the champion, then MJF would be his foil because of the stuff they've done earlier this year and the stuff they've done in the past together. If Ospreay had been the choice and Ospreay had won the title, then they wouldn't have needed Max to do be the number one contender or a de facto number one contender with the contract that he has. So yeah, I think things have just kind of gone on the fly a little bit with this story, and if nothing else, it would mean that they're probably going to transition into a feud between the Hurt Syndicate and MJF. So at least it will have his actual collaboration with the Hurt Syndicate probably won't mean that much, but then he'll probably end up feuding with them. Maybe if he does realign himself with FTR and do kind of mini Pinnacle thing again, then at least there's a natural progression that way. So that's the only hope right now, I guess.
Oh, the Pinnacle.
The Miracle, yeah. Christian Cage.
Yeah, that was weird. So
it wasn't his most fluid promo.
No, he
I'll
struggled a lot on there, and you could tell like certain people have their tells for, you know, some people just I botched the line, let me just repeat it, or you know, in 2 weeks, no, in 1 week, whatever. But Christian was very much, whenever he would get lost in a promo, he would just do the I'm going to tell the crowd to shut up thing.
Yeah,
I'm conducting business.
It's smart though. You know, he kind of turned it on them and then focused back, but he did it like 3 times. But again,
yeah, I think he might have done even more than 3 times. I think he might have done it like 4 or 5. But like whatever it was, I still don't understand why this was the direction to go, because Christian's a heel. He gets beaten up by Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian and, you know, whatever like that. And Copeland comes and helps out, tells him, go, you know, find yourself, go be a better person when you come back. And after just a few weeks, he comes back and he's exactly the same as he was, just to redo the segment again. So was it really a matter of like Tony Khan was like, you know what, I do want to take him off TV, and I don't feel like that makes any sense unless they do the concerto. And yet for some reason, I also want to make sure that it's not a sympathetic concerto.
I think that they're still slow rolling. I think the idea of whenever we're going to get this FTR versus Edge and Christian, essentially Copeland and Christian match, is going to be a bit further down the road than people maybe anticipate. So I think that they need to. I don't think that they want to make Christian sympathetic immediately or make him a clear-cut babyface immediately, because it just wouldn't feel natural. I know that's how things often work, where you just get turned on by your faction, and so you just become a babyface by default. But I think they're trying to do things a bit more gradually, in the sense that he comes back, he's not reformed, he's not repentant, he's not anything along those lines. He's just, you know, being an asshole still. We're still talking about Nick's dead father, and he's still like, yeah, needs to say, now my sight's set on you, and I disown you, and I'm gonna deal with you when I deal with you. But then, like, having him get taken out with the concerto means that he can be out now for a more considerable length of time. As I say, I don't think that it's necessarily the most fluid way of doing things. It can definitely be improved upon, but I kind of prefer this to him just going, oh, I went back for a couple of weeks' time, and now I feel completely different about the whole situation. I was wrong about ways that I treat the fans and treat people, and I'm gonna be like babyface Christian now instead. So yeah, I think it's just going to be a bit of a process for him to get to the point where he reunites with Copeland.
Maybe they can go with the idea that like the concerto scrambles his brains. And it's like, you know, that kind of packaged everything better.
Not to sound crass about it, but I think these pauses in the promo indicate that his brains have probably been scrambled enough throughout the years.
I did like the line about, hey, Adam, you can't judge me. You think of all the shitty things you did to get all those titles. I like that, because it says, like, we can come back together, but I'm not going to let you be self-righteous. You know, I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah, that part I liked. Question marks about the other stuff for me. Even more question marks about this whole Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong thing.
What do you mean? This is so obvious.
It's just weird. Like,
yeah, the conglomeration is weird. The whole thing is weird.
I don't know. It gets too much into the territory of like weird for the sake of weird for me. And
yes,
like I could show the weird. I could show a lot of the weird stuff to some people and be like, all right, you know, this is why I watch this stuff, and it's funny and stupid, and I get that it's silly. Even like the Uriah Connors and Kale Dixon thing, like, yeah, it's silly and stupid. if I showed them this Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong conglomeration backstage segment, I would be like, this doesn't represent how I think the silly stuff is. Like, that doesn't hit for me. That seemed a little too just odd. For anybody who didn't see it, it's Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong backstage are getting interviewed. O'Reilly's talking about thanks for the Brazilian butt lift party and using your money to like have fun. And Strong's like, I lost my friend and I don't know what's going on. And O'Reilly's like basically doing slapsticky, like, I don't know where I'm walking, and I'm like making goofy faces, and Tomohiro Ishii and Hologram and Willow Nightingale are there, and it all transitions to just like Willow's got a match against Tekla, and like, huh? What?
Okay,
Like,
so the idea being, hey, we have an easy out here because Kyle was doing the conglomeration stuff, and this is me just capping for my dudes because I love them. But if I was gonna make sense out of this, it's people grieve really differently. You know, Adam Cole's out for an unknown time. Roddy's like, shit, man, I came here literally to be with Adam. And that whole thing's been up and down. Now we don't know what he's doing. And Kyle's just like, hey, but you can come be silly with me and my other friends. Don't you want to be silly, Roddy? Huh? Don't you? And it's not hitting for me the way I want it to, because nothing outside of them actually being healthy and just wrestling will hit for me. But I get it, even if I don't like it.
So I kind of feel the same way. I think that Rob kind of encapsulates it well, the idea that people either grieve or respond to difficult situations in different ways, whereas Carl's trying to, I don't know, maybe it's a case of just creating stories for the sake of our own stories, right, rather than them telling us directly. But it seems to be he's doing stuff with the conglomeration still. He had that match at All In with the conglomeration as well. So he's still doing that. That's the way for him to get through things and surround himself with people that he's friendly with and he's done stuff with beforehand. And he's trying to get Roddy on board with that as well. And Roddy just doesn't really want to because he's still stuck with the Paragon stuff. And just like he's never done anything with the conglomeration guys before. He doesn't know them. Like, I think that there's like a potential where they might do stuff with backstage segments where Roddy's tried to get Carl to join. Not necessarily Legado del Fantasma, not the wrong name entirely. Yeah, LFO, because of his connection with the Beast Mortos and the fact that they were a tag team for a while. So maybe it's just a case of they're just like two kind of pretty lost souls at the moment, trying to figure out what they're actually going to do. I thought it was quite odd that they weren't part of the tag tournament, but I say it is just a case right now that they are not. They were part of this trio. The big member of that trio is gone, and they're kind of trying to figure things out in the way that they think is best right now. And you're never going to get me to say anything negative about the conglomeration. I think it's the best faction in AEW history.
I would like to see whatever they just decide to classify themselves as just like, maybe they're just a tag team, but if they want to go in the direction of like they need to be a part of a group, then I don't know. It's just weird. It's you know. Let's see what else we had that was in there. The AEW World Championship match. Jon Moxley fails to win the title back over Hangman Adam Page. Makes sense. Obviously, that if that would have been a title change, it would have been extremely surprising to me. And yeah, thumbs up.
I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that guy real quick. It really annoys me sometimes in life and in wrestling when people are just able to beat people. Because if you were able to do that, Mr. Hangman Adam Page, sir, why the fuck did you need a bed of nails and chains and stabbing people with forks if you could just hit him with the fucking buckshot and pin him 1, 2, 3? You should have done that 9 months ago. We would have saved ourselves from all this.
I think it's just this you know, the Fnatic story is that at that point in time Hangman was like confused and like focused on Swerve and other things, and just wasn't where he was supposed to be. Now he's fully focused on being champion, beat Moxley. He's now got the intimidation factor over Moxley. They have a great match, as they are prone to do. And in this one, the whole story around it was Death Rider's banned from ringside, no one could get involved. And then, yeah, they got involved because the referee went down. They had security around the ring with dealing with Claudio and Wheeler. Marina comes in, throws in the title, get a nice... I think that was the thing that they just wanted. They wanted to have one convincing near fall to make you believe for even just a split second that Moxley's just going to win the title straight back. And they did it, and Hangman kicked out. Darby got involved to clear the rest of the Death Riders out, jumping from the balcony as only Darby Allin would do. And then Hangman gets the victory. So, solid first title defense. Hangman's clearly now on past the Death Riders, can start moving on with whatever he's going to do next. And yeah, I think that, and as we saw on Collision, we're now fully on the train of Death Riders versus Darby Allin. Darby Allin trying to throw John Moxley over like a railing to pass some train tracks just onto the concrete below, probably going like several feet until security dragged him away. So yeah, very interested into the future death feud between those two and the rest of the group.
What do we think? Are we thinking blood and guts? Or are we thinking exploding barbed wire death with just these two?
I think at the moment it's just these two, and because they'll need other people to come in to help him with the rest of the Death Riders. I don't know who that necessarily would be. It seemed like they might do stuff with... I guess it depends, because they've got other people doing other things at the moment. If anything, it seems to me, and I might be off base with this, Blood and Guts, I think we're going to have a women's match.
Yeah, I think so too.
Rather than the Death Rider stuff.
Who do you think should be the Mega Bad and Techless group?
Yeah. So we'll get that into Collision, really. Yeah, so Mega Bad and Triangle Madness have all teaming up on Willow after Thekla beat Willow in the episode of Collision. I guess we should bring up that it happened after Chris Statlander won a squash match over Lena Cross, who, by all accounts, I haven't seen much of her work, but apparently is a very top prospect that has been linked to signing with TNA. So it was interesting to see her here as soon as those kind of rumours get surrounded. It's like, hey, why don't we book this person that's apparently going to another promotion soon? But yeah, Thekla beats Willow Nightingale, and then they have 5 people beating her down, and then Aminata, Tymello, and Anna Jay come out to help her chase them off, save Willow. So the only missing piece in that puzzle is getting to convince Chris Statlander to team up with them. So I think that's the 5-on-5, and that's what they'll do the Blood and Guts match with. Because we're already past the point now. We're now in August. Like, they've never done a Blood and Guts match past in August or beyond so far. I think this is good because it means that they aren't tying Blood and Guts to a particular time of year, which I was worried they were going to do as of like last year, where they were always having it around about June, July time, like the space in between Double or Nothing and Forbidden Door, as it were, at that point in time. We could always just put Blood and Guts as a big special TV show in that point. I'd rather Blood and Guts be a thing that just happens spontaneously.
The way that these things should be.
Yeah, exactly.
War Games not being every fucking November.
Yeah, exactly. The feud should necessitate it. So we're not ready. I think we're still far from ready from having this match be worthy of Blood and Guts. But I think that from what I'm seeing, it's 5-on-5. Why else would they do a 5-on-5 thing if it's not for either a Anarchy in the Arena or Blood and Guts type match? They just need to spend like a month or two building it up, and then you do Blood and Guts in, I don't know, like September, October, November time to kill off this feud. So. But I'd much rather it be just for the women's one, because it means that, because you want to spotlight the women's division. We've always spoken about this with AEW. You need to treat the women like the men. So I think it's about time we have the women's Blood and Guts match. So, and yeah. I'd say, as I've always said, and I'd say this over and over again, there is no surefire bet in AEW than a women's hardcore match. So,
and we've seen Death Riders do this, so it's like, what? It's got to be the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do want to talk about this because Tony Khan was interviewed by Iridian Fierro for WGN Radio a little while ago, and basically said that, hey, a quarter of my women's roster got injured during the women's casino gauntlet. And that wasn't ideal. And that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen the launch of the women's tag titles yet.
Yeah, so we'll see that in the next couple of months, I'm assuming.
I also imagine that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen the Ring of Honor Women's Pure title, which was like revealed and shown, why that whole thing has just not happened yet.
Well, yeah, it doesn't help with the fact that both the women's TV champion and the interim Ring of Honor Women's TV champion are both in now. Yeah, so not the most ideal situation.
In the meantime, the ROH Women's World Champion's trying to fight for the other the AEW World Championship.
Okay. So this is good. This is a good thing. So we had the tag match between Toni Storm, Alex Windsor, Athena, and Billy Starks on Dynamite, with Athena getting the pin over Toni Storm. So setting that up. I like the way Alex Windsor's transitioned onto immediately. Like, she's only been around for a couple of weeks. She already feels like she's part of it. Like, I know we don't talk about Collision last week, but the women's title match she had with Athena, I thought was fantastic. Like, that was a really great main event, and she already is getting involved in like the goofiness that Toni Storm brings as well. And I think that's going to help her because it demonstrates more personality than just the wrestling stuff as well, which I think will benefit her in terms of her own personal connection with the crowd. And then the best news of the entire week, really, from an AEW perspective, is that Athena said she's cashing in her contract at Forbidden Door. So no cashing out of nowhere, no interrupting a match at the end, just like signing it and getting the match taking place. We know a particular date, it's happening. She's called a shot for a particular show at Forbidden Door. So we don't have to worry about that, at least from the women's side of things.
Here's what I don't like about that. I'm worried that she's just going to lose.
She might do.
Yeah, I'm good on Toni Storm, bro. Like, can we move Athena onto AEW TV permanently? I don't want to. Oh, it was an angle to run for a month, and now she's just back in Ring of Honor. Like, can she win? I want her to win and stay on AEW for a little bit. I don't need her to be champion for 900 days, but I'd like her to be on AEW TV.
She is on AEW TV.
Yeah, but you know what
and
I'm
she'll
saying.
probably well, yeah, but she will probably continue to be on AEW TV even if she loses this match.
That's my hope.
Yeah, so I think that it depends what the plan is with Toni. Like, do they plan on having this reign go on significantly longer? Do they have someone in mind to eventually take the time with her? If not, then I don't really. It might be Athena. Who knows? I think it's definitely that match is definitely up in the air in terms of the result. I mean, we thought everyone was convinced that Mercedes was going to beat Toni Storm at All In. We're now at a good stage of almost Toni Storm's reign and her period on top of AEW, where it feels like any match she goes into, it feels like she could lose, she could win. And that makes things unpredictable and more interesting to watch, really. So yeah, as I say, I'm just happy that we're not going to have any cash-in bullshit with this, and it's just she's called her shot for a particular event, and that's when she's going to either win or lose, one way or the other, and we can move past that contract situation.
I agree.
There was this whole bit with Anthony Bowens and with Max Caster, who managed to outlast Roosh. Or I guess Roosh didn't pin him within the 5 minutes, more so than anything else.
Yeah, Roosh toyed with his food, essentially, and got paid the price for it, and they've turned Max Caster babyface, surprisingly. But at the end of the day, his gimmick's got over with people. They like the fact that he's now he's very much at Santino Marella level, kind of. Maybe not to the same extent, but comedy jobber babyface type. You go from comedy jobber heel into comedy jobber babyface, and that's
it's
once that gets over.
It's just a really fun catchphrase because I find myself happy to say it because it's funny.
Max Caster, you're the greatest wrestler alive.
Let's go, Max. You're the best wrestler
alive. Yeah. And you're just like, yeah, okay. Like,
it does just work, and it's just funny that now they've just, after what happened like 2 or 3 months ago with Bowens coming back and what Caster was doing at that point, now we're in the complete opposite situation where his stuff's gone over to the point where they have to turn him babyface, and Bowens has to turn heel because just that babyface character was too bland to connect. So yeah, they're just going in the complete opposite directions now.
And the other main, there's a couple more little things. Skyflight beat Shane Taylor Promotions.
Yeah, who cares about that, really?
Yeah.
No one. No, I certainly don't.
Yeah.
The only thing was Mark Briscoe beat Ricochet in the main event of Dynamite and set up the match with MJF for next week. So yeah, as I think that overall Dynamite was a good show. Nothing like blow away outside of like having the world title match happen on there. And then the big thing happened in the I guess the biggest thing from this week happened in the main event of Collision.
And the Chicago Street Fight, which corrected the thing that we assumed was going to happen at the last pay-per-view. And Kyle Fletcher is now the AEW TNT champion, beating Dustin Rhodes for that belt. I'm all for it, 100%. Just like we said when we were going into All In.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that the way this match went, to me, justified the way that All In went. In that, I think it was better that Fletcher won in this kind of match, in this kind of way, than just winning a random fatal 4-way that they had to throw together because of Adam Cole's injury.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's like it at the time with the All In. I don't think it worked just for the moment, but I think I can now look on that in hindsight. Think, oh yeah, that actually was the right decision because I thought Dustin had a great showing here. Like it's amazing what he can still do at his age and how badly his body's been ravaged through the years and just how long he's been wrestling and other stuff that's gone on. And they just had a killer street fight with a number of cool spots. I guess the key one, the thumbtacks down the trunks for the Shattered Dreams.
That was insane. Like, who?
Poor Sky Blue. Yeah, I feel sorry for Sky Blue for that.
Oh, they're together?
Oh yeah, they're together and everything.
Oh yeah,
that one slipped
I didn't know that.
So but yeah, that was a cool spot. Callis brought back his trusty screwdriver to help Dustin get the victory. They did a callback to the how Dustin won with the roll up attempt, like the small package, to give a last little near fall before Fletcher killed him with the brainbuster, and then destroyed his leg with a steel chair afterwards. So I don't think that's leading to a rematch down the road. I think it's just helping establish Fletcher as what we've seen before, but as someone who will just like be a killer and destructive, and as like will just take anyone out that he needs to keep hold of this new championship. But it's great for Fletcher, great for him to be TNT champion. I'm looking forward to what his reign brings. And hope that it's a fairly long one with plenty of good matches in between. But at this point with Fletcher, it's hard for him to have a bad match with anyone because he's just at that level right now.
Agreed.
Alrighty. That's all I got down. We already have a 2-hour show, so
yeah,
it's we got another episode of SmackDown tonight, as we mentioned before, and that's gonna roll into next week and all. I guess the last thing to do is just very quickly try to toss out some of those SummerSlam predictions, Rob.
I will give my thoughts on SummerSlam very quickly. I think, let's go down the Saturday card. I think Jade Cargill will win the women's title. I think Tiffany's had the belt for a while, and I kind of feel like, not that it's now or never. I don't want to make it seem like Jade is, you either get it here, or you'd never get it again. But now is the chance, if you're going to run with Jade, start running. And if you need to back out, you always can. Who's going to win in a Jelly Roll tag match? About Jelly Roll entering the wrestling ring, and Jelly Roll is going to do a choke slam and a boss man slam, and Jelly Roll is going to win. Yeah, I think Flair and Bliss will win the tag titles. Maybe Morgan comes back soon to be like, I can't believe you lost my tag titles. Ah. But Charlotte Flair and Bliss seem to be having fun. And again, as I always say with these belts, it gets these two particular women on all of the shows, and that's where the money is. Reigns Uso against Breaker and Bronson. The most shocking thing about this to me, and this harkens back to what I said earlier, is the story here. Like, it really feels like you should have bought a ticket to this, because the story here is Roman's wrestling. And I can see him and Jay winning. I think it's smarter if the Bronze win, because you should keep an eye on the future. But it's Roman Reigns, so I'm going to say Roman Reigns and Jey Uso win and they yeet. And the highlight is, oh my God, Roman's finally yeeting with his cousin and he's accepted him as a main event guy, and kumbaya. Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. Now this was added on Monday. If Kross wins, Sami Zayn will say he's right. If Sami wins, Kross will say he's wrong. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. And then Kross doesn't get his contract renewed, even though I think that'd be silly after, for whatever reason, people are really digging him, so you might as well strike while the iron's hot. But I think Zayn's winning. And then Punk and Gunther will headline Saturday. And I would like to see Punk win, and just Punk wins and gets a nice little run. But I think Punk's winning, and I think Seth Rollins is cashing in. I think they've been quiet enough at this point that I now think, okay, Rollins is going to cash in. And if he doesn't, then we'll worry about whatever happens later.
And then fuck my fantasy team.
And then fuck Tony's fantasy team, but he'll drop Rollins immediately. I'll pick him up because I'll take the hit until he comes back to win the title. All right, on Sunday we got the triple threat match for the women's world title. I think Naomi's winning, and I think she's pinning Io. I think this is still kind of set up so that Rhea doesn't have to lose, but I can't see Naomi losing yet because they've already kind of set some teases for her and Stephanie Vicaire, which we know will be the immediate match made for Clash at Paris. Becky and Lyra, I think Lyra's just losing, and she'll move on, and Becky can move on as well, challenge somebody else for the IC title. Should be a fun match, though. No disqualification. I always like those kinds of matches. We got plenty of them on this card, by the way. That's the pretty hardcore SummerSlam card. Speaking of which, you got a 6-team TLC match. For what reason, I don't know. But, God, good Lord, it's the Wyatt Six. It's Andrade and Rey Fenix. It's DIY. It's Fraxium. It's Motor City. And it's Street Profits. There is such a thing as overkill. Because this 12 people in a match, which means at minimum 5 at all times will be having to oversell anything. And they'll just be out on the floor. But I'm going to guess Fraxium wins because that's the way this should go. However, something we didn't talk about, Wyatt Six has a Universal theme park, Halloween Horror Nights attraction. So maybe you want to keep them hot for the time being. So maybe they do win. But I'd rather see Fraxium win because they're the actual tag team in all the world. I would also accept Motor City. I would also accept DIY. There's no bad pick here except maybe the champions. So that's my feelings on that. Dominic and AJ, I think AJ should just be IC champion. Maybe you tell the story of bad weekend for Judgment Day, and then oh my God, Liv Morgan's back. Solo and Jacob in a steel cage. It's meant to keep everybody out, which probably means we'll see the debut of a new Samoan. Somehow gets in the cage. But I'm guessing Solo wins here and probably retains the title. Or Jacob just jumps off the top of the cage, has a cool moment, wins his title back, and we move on. But gun to my head, I'm going to go Solo. And then that leaves us with Cody and John Cena. And I'm going to guess Cody wins here. I think we correct course with Cena being heel. These people will lie to you. People will lie to you and say that Cena's heel turn was this great thing, this monumental thing. It wasn't. It's been lame. It sucked. Have a fun street fight. Maybe do something with The Rock. Who knows? He can just show up. But I think Cody should win here, and I think Cena should spend whatever dates he has left as a fun-loving babyface. Repent for your sins for what was only 3 months, by the way. Repent for your sins and enjoy the ride of whatever's left, John. But those are my quick thoughts on SummerSlam.
Alrighty, everyone. Well, that rounds us out for these hot tags. So, of course, drop your comments below. Tell us your thoughts. And we will be back tomorrow or at least I will be back tomorrow for the post show immediately following SummerSlam Part 1. Part 2, of course, same on Sunday. And the live coverage as per usual, all that stuff. If you don't know, if you're brand new, go to smark.moment.com. You'll find the results there. And then we'll be back for the post show. Keep in mind, too, all this marketplace stuff that I mentioned before. Help support us in one way or another. And toss a little spare change our way. Keep us going on here. Keep us motivated and everything. And check out all the things you can find on the link tree at amangotree.com to follow Smark at Moments links there. Fanboysanonymous.com stuff. And my own personal little letterboxed and Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth like that. Make sure you're following Robin Callum too, though.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. That's DUDEFELSCE. I always appreciate any of the support, especially now. Sometimes the motivation's running low, folks, and you just want to know people are supporting you. So always appreciate that. But check out what Callum has going on.
Follow me on Twitter at Blue Sky at Weekmaster14. Follow the Power Rankings over on smarkatmoment.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And while you're over there, head on over to the Fantasy League, also at WWEFantasyLeague.com, where it's going to be a big weekend in terms of SummerSlam, a lot of points up for grabs for all of our rosters. So if you want to see who does end up picking up those points, just follow it along there. Also, and we'll see who's coming out on top at the end of that. And based on the predictions as well that Rob's thrown out and will throw out as well, and we'll finalise as of tomorrow, then that will determine who gets a little bit of an advantage moving into the next, pay-per-view cycle, PLE cycle. Use the right nomenclature.
The play.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really does show off that way. It's just a play.
The very meh play.
Meh play. Well, check out that play tomorrow, and we will see you then. But for now, this has been another Smart Out moment, and we're being counted out.